Hey, shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to our powers, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I want to say double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that have told us this truth to the concept of the will through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Hey, peace, mercy, and blessings to the beloved Akim that are out there pushing this word wholeheartedly in truth and in sincerity, that are not wavering to the left nor to the right, but constantly staying on that straight and narrow, fighting for your crowns in these last days that we are truly living in. Even shalom to the few sisters, the Akwafs to the out, and even shalom to the Israelite foreigners, those that may look like the other nations, but their seed line is going back into our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, I'm the brother Ira, coming back with another lesson to the Lord, willing, edifying, feed the lambs of the Lord. Which I do pray this lesson is edifying, concise, and straight to the point. All right, and just blowing the trumpet in Zion, just a few things I wanted to highlight through the Holy Spirit, all right, because there's a lot of talks of censorship, okay, and we're constantly warning that this truth is not going to always be accessible for you just to wake up, tune in when brothers go live, watch and replay back the videos that you missed. Okay, there's going to be a time where Esau's fully going to lock the internet. All right, he's going to have full control over who has access to these online platforms. Okay, and that's what the scriptures call as the famine of the word. Okay, and that time is fastly approaching. All right, and back, I want to say when like 2011, somewhere in between that time, you had Senator Joe Lieberman, all right, which he wanted to propose an internet kill switch back then, but it never got really passed through, and it just wasn't really the time. All right, you have a lot of brothers that needed to wake up, coming to this knowledge, okay, and it's looking more and more like the elect is sealed, okay, and all hell is getting ready to ring loose with everything that's going on. All right, the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, all right. So time is running short. All right, and even the beloved Apostle Paul. Okay, he had made mention. Right, let's just grab that first. In the book of Romans. Okay, Romans chapter 13 and 11. It says, "This is all the more urgent, for you know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up, for our salvation is nearer now than when we believe." If there's anyone out there, straggling, not really taking it serious, well, now more than ever, this is the time to, get your mind right, get your household in order, all right, because the time is running short, all right. Like Paul said, it's a urgent. All right, matter of fact, let's get the word urgent, okay? The word urgent, Salakia, is a state or a situation requiring immediate action or attention, okay? So this right here, you need to give this truth, you need to give Yahweh Bashim Shai your full attention, okay? Your undivided attention, okay? All right, it says, a earnest and persistent in response to a pressing situation. All right, because see, once this truth is closed, okay, not accessible, all right, all hell is getting ready to break loose out here. And what I wanted to do, let me read this real fast, because this is like I said, Joe Lieberman, back when he was the senator, he proposed this internet kill switch, okay, and it just wasn't the time back then for them to roll out their plans, okay. But we're in a time where Esau can now take full control over the internet, issue out these new laws, okay. And again, time is running short, man. Let me just play this though.
In with Candy Crowley, CNN Sunday Morning, 9 Eastern. You have an internet bill. It's been called the kill switch bill that would allow the president to seize control or shut down portions of the internet if the U.S. was under some sort of cyber attack. I don't know if you've seen the internet lately. There's a lot of people out there who think that what you are granting the president is absolute power to shut down freedom of speech. I mean, this is just over the top.
No way. And total misinformation. I don't know whether people are intentionally peddling the misinformation. Here's the fact. Cyber war is going on in some sense right now. Our civilian infrastructure, the internet that runs the electric grid, the telecommunications grid, transportation, all the rest is constantly being probed by nation states, by some terrorist groups, by organized criminal gangs. And we need this capacity in time of war. We need the capacity for the president to say, internet service provider, we've got to disconnect the American internet from all traffic coming in from another foreign country, or we've got to put a patch on this part of it. The president will never take over, the government should never take over the internet. And listen, we've consulted, Senator Collins and I are proposing this bill with civil liberties and privacy experts. This is a matter of national security. A cyber attack on America can do as much or more damage today by incapacitating our banks, our communications, our finance, our transportation as a conventional war attack. And the president, in catastrophic cases, not going to do it every day, not going to take it over. So I say to my friends on the internet, relax, take a look at the bill. And this is something that we need to protect our country. Right now, China, the government, can disconnect parts of its internet in the case of war. We need to have that here too.
My kids have not eaten barbecue.
All right, so, that's what they wanted to propose back then, but, it never got really passed through law. All right, but now, what's really going on in the news, okay, which I'm going to read this right here from the website naturalnews.com. You have a new digital frontier, government power to disconnect citizens raises alarm, okay, and they're putting together this bill C8, which will grant the federal government the power to order internet service providers to deny service to any specified person without a prior warrant. Okay, so this is, I believe, going on in Canada. All right, and we're gonna touch on a few things that's taking place also in the UK. Okay, because the censorship and the so-called conspiracies, everything that is being pushed through the internet is exposing, all right, what Esau is doing. Okay, and the main threat to Esau's society are the prophets. Okay, all right, the main threat to Esau's society are the prophets. All right, because why? The Lord's men, his ambassadors, okay, are speaking up, and they're filled with the Holy Spirit to expose, okay, what the plans of these devils are and what they imagine to do through their agenda. Okay, and Esau cannot have that opposition. All right, and with everything going on right now, they're going to come with some means of justification to the reason why, like you heard Lieberman say, for in a time of war, cybersecurity, they're going to always use some other narrative to make you believe that this is the reason why they're putting a lock on the internet. Okay, but ultimately it's because what the truth is being declared. All right, the truth is being declared. Okay, it says the order requires only the approval of the Minister of Industry, with oversight occurring only after the fact through a judicial review. Privacy advocates and legal experts warn the bill threatens encryption standards and enables warrantless access to sensitive personal data. Critics argue the bill contradicts past Canadian government stances that threatens internet access as fundamental rights. All right, which a lot of your rights are being abolished right now. Okay, you heard what Trump said. All right, because you got the left Okay, a lot of these blue states, especially here in the U.S., you know, like you have Portland, they're trying to stop the National Guard from being over there. The I forget what judge, but Trump is using his authority to, bypass, all right, these laws, okay? And Trump said himself, he said, you know what, we'll deal with that in court later, all right? So these laws don't matter, all right, because they control the laws, all right? So you don't really have rights unless they give you rights, okay? And that's why we say we're coming into a time of totalitarian type of rule, okay? A dictatorship, all right? A technocracy, okay? All right, where the technocrats, the banking families that truly rule the world, they're going to be the ones that make all the final decisions, all right? There's not going to be no so-called democracy. That's out the window, okay? They've used democracy. They kick the can down the road just to get their plans fully ready to roll out, and we're here at these times where they're getting ready to bring in this new dystopian type of world that they imagine, okay? All right, and that's why we keep saying the times are short, man, all right, because Esau's getting ready to come down with great wrath, and they're not sparing nobody that's not with their new world order agenda, okay? Everybody that's opposing will be moved out the way, okay? And again, we're the primary target, okay? Matter of fact, let me just get one more precept, all right? Because the scriptures say that, let me see, it says, faith shall flourish, all right? And how does faith come? By hearing the words, all right, of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's how faith comes, okay? By hearing these words, all right? So, there's not going to be no more teachings and videos you can watch, okay, getting built up and seeing what's going on. You got to lock in with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai now, okay? It says 2nd Ezra 6 and 28. It says, as for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared. And right now the truth is being declared, okay? But for how much longer, all right? And that's when the mercy ends. The scriptures say, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, because the reproving is going to eventually come to an end, all right? That, the prophets ain't going to be out on the street corners teaching, okay? All right, the Lord's going to hide his prophets, all right? And you know how it is with a lot of you jakes, man. You go to the bar and you procrastinate in your life, but you can't procrastinate with this truth. Like, you got to be mindful, right? Because like I said, Jake will go to the bar and they'll hear that last call for alcohol and they'll rush to the bar to go get their last couple drinks, all right, so that way they can enjoy the rest of their night, okay? But see, you want to get this drink right here, all right? Because the truth is likened unto a drink as well, all right? And this is the wine that you want to get right here, all right? You want to be drinking on, all right? This is the only thing that truly gonna make you feel good and allow you to understand what's going on and ultimately keep you stable, okay? Because the scriptures represent as many things: food, water, bread, wine, all right? So as you will run to go get that last drink, come drink this, okay? Isaiah 24:11, there is a crying for wine in the street. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone, all right? So that's when people going to be looking for the prophets. But that crying for this knowledge, it ain't going to be there, because the Lord is going to just allow all hell to reign loose. And we're seeing the foreshadows of events to come, all right, with everything that's going on, all right, especially with all this military activity, ICE throughout the U.S. right now, okay? Lockdowns, okay? Restrictions, cruelty, draconian measures, more harder laws is getting ready to be pushed, all right? And you know, building up and establishing your relationship with Yahweh Bashim Shai, okay, is ultimately going to keep you stable. All right, your foundation has to be Yahweh Shai in these last days, man. It says, let me go back to this article. It says, privacy advocates and legal experts warn the bill threatens encryption standards and enables warrantless access to sensitive personal data. Critics argue that bill contradicts past Canadian government stances that threaten internet access as a fundamental right. The legislation is the latest in a series of government bills increasing control and regulation over the Canadian internet. In a move that has sparked intense debate over digital rights and state power, the Canadian government has introduced legislation that would grant a federal minister the authority to unilaterally disconnect any individual from the internet. Bill C-8, currently in its second reading in the House of Commons, proposes amendments to the Telecommunication Act that would allow the Minister of Industry to prohibit telecommunication providers from offering services to any specified person. This power, which requires no prior judicial warrant and is defended by the government as a necessary tool against cyber threats, is being criticized by civil liberty groups as an unprecedented and dangerous expansion of state authority that threatens the privacy and freedom of the Canadians. Okay, so your privacy, your freedom, okay, that's all going out the window. All right, and you had a situation that took place out in the UK. I want to say a mosque or one of those 1948 places got hit, and they're using that situation to bring out, you know, the digital ID and to restrict access to the internet out in the UK right now. Okay, which is going to further, you know, them cracking down on so-called free speech. Okay, all right, and locking in their civilians. All right, and that's the move that they're making. All right, which is the same thing that's going to take place out here in Babylon. Let's check this out right here. This, you know, this is from
information on it.
This is from you know, a call for an uprising. All right, this is a good video to watch. All right, it says the UK synagogue abbing psyop. Okay, so let's check this one out.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
2 people are dead in a car ramming and stabbing attack at a UK synagogue. Witnesses say a man drove a car into members of the synagogue worshiping on Yom Kippur, then pulled out a knife. Police say at least 2 others are injured and the suspect is dead. Now local officials are stepping up security at synagogues around the country. ABC's Lama Hassan has more. Lama, really unusual in the UK to see police have to pull out guns and shoot and kill a suspect. What's the latest here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Diane. This was an absolutely horrific attack. You know, the details are terrifying. We know that police were called after witnesses said that they saw a man driving.
You know, and like the scriptures say, let me get it real fast. All right, in 2 Corinthians 2:11, you know, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. All right, these Edomites, they use the same playbook over and over again. All right, they try to push this whole anti-Shem, all right, which the real Israelites, okay, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, all right, we're Shemitic as well, all right, and Esau is Shemitic, okay, he's a Hebrew Edomite, okay, that is Shemitic because he came out of the line of Shem, all right, but he's not of the chosen line. But they try to play this downtrodden victim role, okay, and these are the people that, you know, you can't talk about or discuss because it'll get you banned off the internet. You'll get hit with hate speech for targeting these people that are so-called downtrodden when in reality these people are very well off. Okay. All right. You know, don't let the world fool you when they try to push these narratives as if these 1948ers are just hurting. Okay. When they have everything. All right. They have literally everything. All right. They're not living impoverished like Jake is living. Okay. They don't live in ghettos. Okay. They live good. Now, this is a picture right here. It says Americans should know this. There are around 800,000 to 900,000 JEOOs settlers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and none of them work. They live off government funding, right? Because it's a certain amount of billions of dollars a year. But when you do the math on it, it's like $10 million a day. And this is all your hard paying tax money that is going to these individuals, all right? That show you that these can't be the people that are under the curses, okay? So don't let it fool you that these people are just the most targeted, they're just the most hated in the world, and they need protection and peace, and that's all lies, man, okay? So it says they live off government funding, free housing, free healthcare, free everything, and your tax dollars pay for it, all right? So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, all right? Because again, 2 Corinthians 2:11, at least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, all right? We're not ignorant of this man's, you know, schemes, plots, plans, you know, his agenda, all right? So, you know, they're running the same playbook, all right? And people are now starting to wake up to, you know, the bull, all right? The bull, SHIT, okay? You know? So let's watch some more. Let's watch this video. Get into it.
Said that they saw a man driving a car. He then rammed into members of the public. The man wielding a knife then killed at least 2 people. We understand that 3 members of the public are also in serious condition. Police have declared it a major incident. And we understand that a firearms police officer shooting who police believe is the suspect. Now, we know that an investigation is underway. Manchester's mayor, Andy Burnham, he called it a serious incident, but saying that the immediate danger appears to be over. But he did warn members of the public to avoid the area. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, he cut short a meeting with EU leaders and Denmark to come home to hold an emergency meeting on the security situation in the country. You know, he said that there'll be extra police assets at synagogues across the UK. And the fact that this happened on Yom Kippur, he says, makes it all the more horrific. We also have heard from the King and Queen. They said that they are deeply shocked and saddened to hear about the attack in Manchester. They said, especially on such a significant day for the Jewish community, and this was released in a statement. Of course, they did offer their thoughts and prayers. But at the moment, these are all the details that we know, Diane.
All right, Lama Hassan, thank you.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from? Or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
This is a call for...
All right, see, so the world is their stage, okay? So a lot of these psyops, a lot of these orchestrated events, all right, they can make it seem real and it's not. And it's just to play on your mind, your emotions, okay, to have you thinking in many different directions, okay? All right, remember Esau is the deceiver, okay? His power lies in deception, all right? But Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is stronger than these Edomites, all right? The Most High controls the spirit of men on earth, and he'll put the spirit on these Edomites, their own people, to actually whistleblow and bring out information, okay, just to prove exactly what we've been saying, all right, through the Holy Spirit, all right. Let me see. Let me get this real fast. All right, this is Psalms chapter 64. Psalms chapter 64 and in verse 6. It says they search out iniquity. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thoughts of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded. All right, and part of them being wounded is them being exposed. Okay, all right, because see, their power lies in secrecy, but the Lord said that he will every hidden thing that he will make it pretty much known. All right, let me see if I can find that. All right. Oh, that's a good one. Yep. This is Isaiah 48:6. Thou hast heard, see all this, and will not ye declare it? I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them. So a lot of things that are hidden. All right. A lot of things that Esau, didn't want the public to see or know about is now coming to the forefront. All right. And it's exposing their plans to the point that now they're just moving with it regardless of who knows what. Okay, because they know that they got majority of the people in the bag. All right, they got their minds. Okay, all right, people are too stupid. All right, but the Lord got the minds of his prophets, and then even some of the minds of these regular bystanders, Edomites, that are seeing what's going on and they're speaking out on it. Okay, all right, they're complaining about what's going on. All right, and then we use that information to bring more edification and show you that, hey, these Edomites, they're the devil. Okay, according to the Bible, man. All right, Obadiah 1:6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Okay, you see, all right, and that's why when the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom woke up, the scriptures say that great fear fell upon them. All right, great fear. Okay, because they know that their time, their kingdom is coming to an end. Their rulership, all right, is getting ready to be no longer. All right, so they're running out of time. They're running short. Their time is running short. Let's get back in Psalm 64. It says, "So they shall make their own tongues to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." All right, and that's the point right there. All right, their own tongues shall fall upon themselves. So a lot of information, like you heard, okay, they come up with it. All right, they make you believe like the CK incident was real. All right, a lot of these things are psyops, and then when you look into the backgrounds of things that's going on, you could just see how fake it is. Okay, all right, see that these individuals are set up. Even CK's wife, I believe that Trump endorsed her when she was young. She was something Miss America or something in Arizona, whatever it was. But then, she was some type of Christian organizer, and I forget what country she was in, but whatever country she was in, they kicked their ass out because they started realizing that the children were going missing. Okay, so they use these Christian nationalists, and they do a lot of wickedness, and a lot of that wickedness is being exposed. So a lot of these people are crisis actors. All right, and this is what kind of call for uprisings going into. All right, so let's watch some more of it.
For an uprising, welcome to today's show. Anytime we hear of a shooting taking place at a synagogue, you can automatically assume that it is either a government false flag or a psychological operation. The difference between the two, of course, is that in a false flag, an event is actually carried out by your own government, whether it's the police carrying it out or black ops, the intel agencies carrying it out, versus a psychological operation where they make these stories up and they have actors put in place that convince you that something actually occurred when nothing actually occurred. Anytime we hear the majority of these school shootings, we can immediately know that this is a government staged operation. The same in regards to these synagogue shootings, because it brings, and they have to bring, and victimize Israel, especially at a time where a lot of people are starting to wake up to who the state of Israel actually is. Now, this is something I have been talking about for a decade, and I've had so many people on the left, the liberals out there, who have censored my channel, who have said that I'm anti-Semitic, and now we actually see them awakening to the state of Israel and everything going on in Palestine, and they're actually getting silenced, and they're actually losing their free speech that they once actually had, which they don't seem to have anymore. So there's a lot of things surrounding this event that we need to look at. And again, anytime you hear of these events at synagogues, these are to garner sympathy. In this specific case, there's a lot going on in the UK. And of course, we're on the eve of October 7th, where you might say, well, what is October 7th? Well, they want you to remember October 7th more than you actually remember 9/11. They're trying to turn October 7th, like they did in America, into January 6th, Insurrection Day. So they're using lots of different means to convince people that October 7th is the worst day in the history of the world, right? That's the supposed day that Hamas somehow, as I covered at the time, somehow were able to get through the Iron Dome, which is supposed to be ironclad. Somehow they were able to attack and bomb Israel in the middle of the night. Of course, we all called this out as for what it was, an attack on themselves so that they can wage war, but they're not really waging war on Hamas because Hamas works for the Mossad. They're a branch of the Mossad. This is world governments working together against the civilians. They are murdering innocent civilians. They are taking their land. It is no different than a controlled demolition like we saw in 9/11. They're literally killing people and blowing up buildings and bulldozing these buildings because they have plans for what's going to happen over in the Middle East. They have plans for what's going to happen in Gaza, and it's called the Greater Israel Expansion. It's something I've talked about for years. They need to simulate these wars, and when I say simulate, it doesn't mean that people aren't actually killed. It's the illusion that a war is taking place between two armies. This is the...
Yep, and in this Greater Israel Expansion, you know, because they want to move out the Palestinians. They tried to already push them down into Egypt. That's, you know, that was what they hoped for, to push them all into Egypt. But, you know, part of their expansion plan is that they want to cut control of Egypt from having the Gulf of Suez Canal, okay, which a lot of merchandise actually gets brought through there from them ships. Okay, a lot of cargo goes through there. And then what they want to do is they want to build a canal through the desert and bring it all the way down into the Aqaba Canal, which is on the other side of the Gulf of Suez, and they want to open that up and bring actually, you know, trade routes through there, so that way they can you know, keep all the money for themselves. All right, so this is also a part of their plans. Okay, you know, it's called the Ben Gurion Canal. You can look into that, you know, all right, or a project. Okay, all right. Esau has these nefarious plans, and he'll destroy your livelihood, your life, in order to fulfill it. And then he'll also attack himself. You know, he'll attack himself to make it seem like, you know, he's being targeted as well, but the whole time he's been manipulating and, you know, orchestrating this whole event. Okay, so, you know, this is how Esau gets you. Okay, you know, so now all these, like I said, you know, the Lord is exposing this man, all right, for everything that he's doing, all right, and again, we're not ignorant to his devices, all right. These people are really good at manipulating your minds, okay, all right, weaponizing information and situations against you, okay, and then people fall into the narratives and into the traps, okay, all right. But let's keep going though. Let's listen to
global government committing genocide against civilians, and you might as well look at it the same way you would think of, you know, a big company buying up land and demolishing the land so that they could rebuild that land. You know, a lot of the stuff we saw maybe in Lahaina, where they tried to buy many of those homes. Many people wouldn't sell their homes, so they burned their homes to the ground and told you that it was a natural disaster. So we could immediately start and look at this story and laugh, because the shooter, I mean, I've been saying this a lot recently with these psyops and false flags, the names of these characters, it is comical. Well, this one might take the cake. The 35-year-old suspect goes by the name of Jihad al-Shami. So you have the word sham, which is what all these actual news stories are. But the guy even has the first name Jihad. Could you make it up? Could you make it up that the guy's first name is Jihad? I mean, give me an utter break. So the first thing we look at, of course, is anti-Semitism, hate laws, free speech removal. That's why they're going to do more and more of these operations where Israel is the victim. One of the things you're going to see are conspiracy theorists who are getting pushed to the front, like Candace Owens, who are going to call out Israel, and they're going to use them as well to censor conspiracy theories online. And if you didn't hear this story while I was...
Yep. because a lot of these Candace Owens, you know, what's that dude name from Fresh and Fit, you know, a lot of these individuals are they're set up. You know, Esau pushes who he wants at the forefront to be these so-called, you know, smart individuals that, you know, got this profound wisdom and they got these good talking points, all right? But a lot of them are, you know, CIA funded, man, all right? Or, you know, backed by whatever organization that is, putting them at the forefront, man, all right, in order to use for their agendas, man. And they do bring out good talking points, okay? Talking points that can be used. Don't get me wrong. You know, they bring out good talking points, okay? But nevertheless, they're being used for a goal and a purpose, okay? All right? And it's all for these Edomites, okay? Matter of fact, let me just get this real fast in the book of Second Thessalonians. No. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, hold on. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. And let's start at verse 3. It says, matter of fact, start at the top. It says, "Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in your mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of a Mashiach is at hand." Okay, so the Lord is fastly approaching. Okay, all right, and these Edomites know it as well. They know they seen something. They're scared. They're moving fast with their plans, and they're sloppy with what they're doing. Okay, they're getting ready to have to fight against Yahweh Shai and the angels. So they're scrambling, all right, like some eggs, all right. They're trying to catch up, you know, and set everything in play to prepare for the return of the Messiah, all right. They're trying to prepare for Yahweh Shai returning, because they know that when the Lord comes, they're going to have to fight for their rulership, all right, which they're going to lose. You know, they're going to lose. Second Ezra, the 13th chapter goes into that, okay. Revelation, the 12th chapter goes into that. A great war in heaven. Michael and his angel fought with the dragon and his angels, okay, all right. It's going to be a great war, all right. So they know, just as well as we've been saying it, all right, because they know that what we're saying is the truth. Just a lot of you Jakes don't know, because the Lord hasn't given you the breath, okay? So it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Okay, so Rome had to fall. Rome had to come back into power again through the Renaissance, you know, the rebirth. They had to establish themselves again, these Edomites, after they came out the caves. You know, the Lord released them, and now you're starting to see that they're the son of perdition, okay? And we fell away too. You know, we lost the heritage, trodden down, beaten, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah, the Lord has revived us. He's woken us up back into this knowledge, our heritage, who we are, our identity that has been stolen from us. Now we're reclaiming it, you know? And like as we're reclaiming our identity, you know, which should be a crime, you know, because Esau wants to talk about identity theft, you know. But as we're proclaiming we're the true biblical Israelites, the narrative that Esau holds is now being exposed, okay? Because now we're saying that now we're the people of the Heavenly Father. We're the ones that walked through the Gulf of Suez. We were the ones that were in Egypt, okay? All right? Abraham is our father, you know. we're the children of the promise, all right? The stories you read about Daniel, all right, King David, okay? These are our forefathers, okay? All right, and you Edomites don't measure up to the people in the book, all right? And the way you got the land was all artificially done, you know. It wasn't by the Lord actually putting you in the land, okay? You wasn't Joshua and Caleb, all right, and fought for that land and removed the people out of it, okay? You know, that was us. And see, in, you know, That's what I'm saying. Like, they know now. They know, like, oh man, I don't know how they found out, but now they're waking up. We no longer have that control over their minds anymore, you know? All right. So the son of perdition is being revealed. All right. The Lord is exposing these wicked people for who they are. All right. The people of destruction. Okay. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is God. So Esau's trying to hold on to this narrative, and then at the same time, he's trying to set himself up to be the pinnacle of the heights of heaven, okay? As the Most High, he's trying to use technology and artificial ways, all right, to control the people, get into your spirit. All right, he wants to control your soul. He wants to control your every movement in life. He wants to control who's born in the world. And he's thinking that he's getting ready to accomplish and achieve this idea that he has, but it's all to, to fulfill prophecy. All right, for him to, chip majority of the people up, and then for his downfall to come soon after. All right. So the son of perdition is revealed. Okay. All right. So it says, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. Okay, so he's revealed. All right. So it says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. So the Lord is allowing this man to keep moving forward with his plans, just so that way he can have one of the greatest falls. All right. He's allowing him to get comfortable in his pride, and his pride has become into arrogance. All right. Because arrogance is actually a higher level than pride. Okay. All right. And like the scriptures say, Esau shall fall as lightning. Okay. All right. So I'll get verse 8. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. All right, so let's go back to the videos, watch some more.
Was planning to cover this false flag operation. I even came across this WWE, the wrestling company, changes their name for their event from Invasion to Showdown. Why would they change the name of their fake wrestling event? Well, it's insensitive, because the event is taking place on October 7th, and calling it an invasion is no different than what Hamas did to Israel. So Israel and all those organizations like the ADL, they were in an uproar that the fake wrestling company would have an event on October 7th and call it invasion. And the other thing we can look at with, of course, this false flag is not just the fact that it's happening right before October 7th, is also that it took place on Yom Kippur. Now, this is where it gets comical. Right. Because after this event actually occurred,
which really is Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. All right. So, these guys are the imposters, man. All right. So let's keep watching, though, because we had our Day of Atonement on the 30th, all right, of September, all right, which was very spiritual, because a lot has been going on since that date.
Told was that Mr. Jihad rammed his car into a crowd and then began stabbing people. We were told that 2 people died, but what they didn't tell us until after the fact was that the guy was supposedly wearing a bomb on his vest. He had an explosive device, which turned out to be a lie, of course, as all the news is nothing more than a lie. And then they told us that the actual people who were killed were actually killed by the police. That's right. The police shot and killed one of the supposed victims, was shot and killed by the actual police. Now, these are the images that they've given us, and I'll play for you the video now so you can see for yourself. You can see this is very poorly staged. The police are yelling at bystanders to get back, telling them that this guy has a bomb on him. Of course, the guy doesn't look like he has any blood on him from stabbing anyone whatsoever, but he is shot in front of these people, supposedly, and this is the footage that they gave us in the news.
Killed him. Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with everybody else! He has a bomb! Go away! He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb on his jacket, mate! He's trying to go in his... He's got bombs on him!
So we can look at that and then we start saying, okay, What are some of the things about the suspect? What are some of the calling cards that the government leaves? Usually they leave manifestos, right? Usually they will not live to tell their story. Usually sometimes they leave evidence on the bullets. Well, in this case, what we have is very bizarre. Because the story that's come out since then, we all saw who they told us the suspect was, who goes by the name of Jihad, which is enough of a sign that this is a government operation. Well, since then, we're told that there's 6 suspects who have been arrested since then. So you'd say to yourself, well, wait a minute. If this guy used his car and he rammed it into a crowd, like we're told, then he got out of the car and started stabbing people until he was shot by the police and he had a bomb in his chest, which turned out wasn't an actual bomb. How can 6 other people be arrested if there weren't 6 other people there stabbing people, running people over with their cars? Well, there's 6 other people who are now being held till at least Wednesday who are suspected of being involved in this because this entire thing, according to the counterterrorism police, potentially was influenced by extreme Islamist ideologies. Well, where do you think that possibly took place? Well, it's likely that it took place online, right? 6 people have been arrested on suspicion of the commission, preparation, and instigation of acts of terrorism after Jihad killed a worshiper and seriously injured several others on Thursday. The attack took place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Officers said on Friday they believed that Shami, might as well call him ShamWow, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent, may have been influenced by extreme Islamist ideology. This is a new common thing that we're seeing, right? Radicalized online. I talked about that with the Charlie Kirk psyop. Oh, the guy was radicalized online. He was radicalized what? On a Discord. He was speaking on forums. They were openly talking about murder and murdering somebody online. Well, how in the world could that have happened and they weren't arrested beforehand? Shouldn't somebody have watched that and monitored that? Well, of course, what a coincidence, right? Because that's where the digital ID comes into play, right? And a few days before this event, what did we have? Well, we had the prime minister let us know that the digital ID is coming. And if you don't have it by 2029, you will not be allowed to have a job. And what happened from there? Well, many people are very upset on both the left and the right. And that's why you're going to see a lot, and I mean a lot, of false flags and psychological ops over the next couple of years to convince people that by having a digital ID online, we'll be able to prevent these crimes from actually happening. Because with the digital ID online, we would have been able to determine that this crime was going to happen ahead of time because of the ideologies that these people were reading about, talking about, and messaging to one another in Discord. Now we have Big Brother policing all this stuff because these people looking at it can't be anonymous anymore on the internet, and they need to convince you of that. So what perfect timing, right?
Yeah, and that's, everything's going to be so-called for peace and safety, okay? All right, that's how they're going to try to bring it to you. Well, this is all for the protection of the people. We need to do this, that, and the third. All right, but you never believe what they're saying, okay? 1 Thessalonians 5:1, but of the times and of the season, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay, see, so when they say peace and this is what we're doing for the people, you can't believe what Esau's saying. All right, just know that some type of nefarious event is getting ready to go down, and that's why the scriptures say that let's read verse 4. But ye brethren are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief, right? Because the Lord said what? Watch as well as pray, okay? Watch as well as pray, okay? You're supposed to be watching, all right? Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. Seeing then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Okay, wherefore be ye not unwise, right? Which in the NLT it says, don't act thoughtlessly. Okay, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. You see, all right. So understand, you got to be in the spirit. All right. Don't be drunk with wine, cares of this life, personal matters in your life. You're supposed to constantly stay as a watchman, preparing your mind, getting in the spirit, being in these scriptures, getting this for yourself, working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, doing what you got to do, okay? Because that will ruin your life. Instead, be filled with the Holy Spirit. All right. So you want to be filled with the Holy Spirit. All right. Because Esau's, he's cooking things up, man. All right. So I know it's a little bit more. Let's play some more of this.
What perfect timing, right? I mean, it couldn't be more perfect of timing. We also have some politicians now and religious leaders who are claiming pro-Palestinian demonstrations, which have been held regularly since the war in Gaza began, played a role in spreading hatred of Jews. The protests have been overwhelmingly peaceful, but some say chants such as "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" incite anti-Jewish hatred. Of course, and we know what this is all leading towards with the Noahide laws. There's one specific group of people who have to be victimized, who you are not allowed to ask questions about, because that one specific group who claims to be something that they're not, as we're told in the book of Revelation, that specific group is responsible for everything that's happening in the world. They are not who they claim to actually be. But of course, we know the church is in bed with the Zionists, because the 501c3 churches are only allowed to be tax exempt if they promote Israel, and all of these preachers brainwash their audience. They never read the book of Revelation and tell them how clear as day it is. It says, there are those who claim to be but are not. They are of the synagogue of Satan. And then when you read the books like the Zohar and the Talmud, and you watch documentaries like some of the ones Ted Pike has produced, you realize real fast, wow, that's not the cookie cutter Torah reading people that I was told about. But they're victims, remember? They're constantly under attack. So since they're constantly under attack, you're not allowed to say anything or question anything they do, or you're anti-Semitic, and it's spreading, right? So this is what's happened since then. Okay, Starmer is telling protesters to respect the grief of British Jews. They don't want anybody out there protesting peacefully because it's offensive, right? This is something that they put out for people to, they put this out for the world to see. We're ensuring that every available officer in Greater Manchester is currently deployed to provide reassurance, particularly amongst our Jewish communities, at what is a time of profound distress and sorrow. We are aware that a number of planned demonstrations are due to take place this weekend of the variety that we routinely police across our city, region, week in and week out. At this time, however, I'm directly appealing to all those who might be intending to protest this weekend to consider whether this is really the right time. You could do the responsible and sensitive thing and refrain on this occasion from protesting in a manner which is likely to add to the trauma currently being experienced by our Jewish community. We can't and wouldn't seek to stop peaceful gatherings. However, we will act immediately to curtail any acts of violence, intimidation, or threat in circumstances where protests do occur. Over the coming days, we will act robustly in all circumstances to uphold the law. I would call upon the common decency and humanity of all people across the Greater Manchester to aid us in seeking to support our Jewish communities following such a horrific attack, right? Attacking yourself or pretending to attack yourself so that you are guilted out of protesting some of the stuff that's going on, because people are waking up to what the Mossad is doing and to the mass genocide that's occurring, right? They can't have an awakening happen. So you got to keep making false stories up to suppress speech and guilt people and shame people who are actually peacefully protesting, which is their God-given right to do. Now, does it actually do anything? Well, of course not. It doesn't do much of anything. But still, now they're shaming you. Just like, when they shamed everybody during COVID. Oh, you're going out and you're unvaccinated. You're a horrible person, right? Everybody was proven right who didn't get vaccinated. But of course, everyone who was right the entire time lost their ability to have free speech, was never restored online, lost their jobs if they refused to poison themselves. Pretty incredible, right? So this goes on.
Yep, which now they're so-called restoring back people's channels that got deleted over the fact that what we were saying was right, okay? And they were lying to you the whole time, all right? So whatever Esau got going on with that, all right? But it's just a little bit more. Let's listen to just a little bit more. Bear with me. All right, just showing you the hypocrisy of these Edomites, and that they're getting ready to shut the internet down, okay, or put a lock on it, okay, and this word is not going to always be accessible, so the time is short, so like I said, just harping on that point, and they're using these different ways in order to bring this thing in, okay, to justify their actions.
There are planned vigils and dignified events that will occur over the coming hours and days. These are opportunities for quiet and respectful reflection, and I know that the decent majority of people across Greater Manchester will join in standing shoulder to shoulder with those who grieve. So they're using manipulation to try to get anybody out there, even the pro-Palestinians, to side with Israel and stand side by side with them after this orchestrated event that really came directly from your own government, right? There's some of the signs that are out there. I oppose genocide. I oppose genocide. Look at this person. Stand up. We must be brave. Even has the all-seeing eye right on the poster. And then these, of course, were some of the people who showed up conveniently outside of the synagogue who are talking about how they're victims, right? Well, of course, listen to some of these people who showed up outside of the synagogue right after the supposed event took place.
It's horrifying. It is horrifying. Unfortunately, in the last year, we've witnessed a whole load of terror and attacks against the Jewish people. With the Israel-Palestine war, what people don't realize, obviously, is that people are blaming the Jewish nation and attacking the Jewish nation because of what.
We've all fasted since 6:30 last night. You want to feel secure. You want to be able to go to places and feel that you can just walk around.
Gosh, all these people are just actors and bad at it. Okay, bad ass actors. Look at her face. Could you believe somebody that looked like that? All right, you know she lying. You know she look like she like putting shit in your cookie dough and then she feeding it to you. These people are wicked, man. These people are strange.
What you can do.
Of course, they don't feel safe. I mean, these are the same things we hear after every false flag. That's how you know these are crisis actors. You see these events on the television that you think are real, and these people show up on TV. They talk about gun control. What else do they say? I don't feel safe leaving my home. I just went to a parade. I don't feel safe because people have guns. I don't feel safe going to the synagogue because there's so much hatred towards Jewish people. So what we need to do is we need to arrest people who don't agree and side with Israel, because that's really what this is all headed towards in the Noahide laws, right? This is another thing that they put out there. They said Jewish people right now are telling me that they are leaving to go to Israel. Israel is at war. How can people be leaving the UK to go to a war zone and think that they'll be safer there? We need to bring back safety to our streets. Benedict added that quite a lot needs to happen to combat anti-Semitism, which has risen since October 7th attacks almost 2 years ago. Well, what does that mean? What needs to happen? Oh, you're going to force people to not question Israel. You're going to force people to to bow down to Israel. That's pretty much what it says. Well, what needs to happen? Oh, well, these people out there, they're promoting anti-Semitism. Are they? They're questioning kids being killed and other things that are going on over there, even though what they should be questioning is the fact that both governments are working together. And this is a controlled demolition. This is the destruction of people's lives, their homes, right? We know this is all about the Greater Israel Plan. They are going to steal all of that land, working together with the other governments out there, like the Saudis, because they're building the line, rumor, and the alt-right up Christians with the actual synagogue of Satan, which is incredible if you think about it, getting in bed with the actual body of Satan. So that'll be forbidden as well. And right, the shooter embraced Columbine, anti-Semitic, white-sing the state of Israel. They were looking at things online. Speak in the UK, the Prime Minister, and he's conspiring online to carry this event out. And they're going to convince people out there that these are the reasons that we need the digital ID. Because guess what? We already just saw this past week when he came out in the UK, the Prime Minister, and he said, digital ID is coming, you're going to need one to work. That people said, I don't know about that. They said, well, the digital ID because, the immigrants are crossing. People aren't that bothered by it as much as they want them to be. We know MAGA is bothered by it, but the rest of society is not. Other than MAGA, the Democrats don't care about they're not going to get a digital ID because Donald Trump tells them to get one, or the Prime Minister of the UK or Australia or anywhere else tells them to get one. They got to convince them that it's needed to protect people, it's convenient, it's easy. Right? They're trying everything they possibly can, right? How about the propaganda I've shown you over the years? Oh, carrying a wallet? You don't have to do any of it. You just have to shut it. Went to Timbuktu and came home. It might be up the road from you. Right, that's one of the reasons with all those COVID questionnaires they put out. And they're like, were you in contact with somebody with COVID? Like, the immigration on. Realize once they're offline for a couple of months that life's way better, way easier. But of course, they're going to make it so that you can't get encyclopedias, you can't get information anywhere other than the internet. You got to have the internet, right? Got to have it. So that's a tie-in with this obvious event, which is obviously carried out by the government. The name itself, jihad. But every single time you hear one of these events at a synagogue, just know that what it's there for. So the government can come out, just like in a couple of months ago, I covered that psyop in, I believe it was in a hotel in D.C., right? The Pentagon was, the government.
Yeah, so you could watch the whole video, but if you want to have access back to the internet, you're gonna have to take the mark of the beast. You're gonna have to take the chip, the C-hip, all right? And that's how they're gonna put it. They're gonna lock you out from it. Everybody can't be without the internet. Everybody can't go without their phones. They got people addicted to social media like they had people addicted to crack, so the different dopamines and that serotonin that that makes you feel good, the views, the likes, the networking that you do on this service that you get, that you have access to. Well, if you want to keep that, you're going to have to, get that chip inside of your body, man. All right, so that's we see what's going on, All right, we see what's going on. That's why we blowing the trumpet in Zion. That's why we be warning. All right, time is short, man. You know, all hell getting ready to break loose. Judgment getting ready to rain out here. Okay, all right, and the Lord getting ready to take the prophets off the streets, and you know, made the last few prophecies getting ready to be fulfilled. Okay, so let me get real fast. Amos, chapter 9, and verse 8, it says, behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. All right, so the Lord's getting ready to bring Babylon down. All right, and only the elect are going to make it through, all right, these troubling times. Okay, and when the Lord takes the prophets off the streets, that's it for this place. Okay, all right, and that's coming soon. You know, this is again Amos chapter 8 verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. You see? All right, you're going to search for it, and you're going to look, but it's not going to be there. Okay? And that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. Okay? You're going to look for answers, and hey, you're going to realize that the ones that you mocked, you scoffed, okay, you spoke out against, which ultimately really just spoke out against the Lord, that you always had that they were truly the prophets. Okay, this is Ezekiel chapter 33 verse 3. I'm sorry, 33 and 33. And when this comes to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet have been amongst them. Okay, see? When you start seeing all these terrible things happen, and you start understanding really, because you have no choice but to see, you're going to know that what we've been saying was the truth the whole time. So Lord willing, this was edifying to the Lord's elect. With that, I'm going to say shalom.